Hello, I'm Gaëlle Collas. I live in Spain, in Barcelona, and I'm French. I've been studying civil engineering in France long time ago. I would coach, and I came to Spain to train on becoming a family coach, where I started to give private classes to families, parents and kids together, especially international families in French, English, and Spanish, to teach them how to use technology and to work on all the personal issues there could be between them when it came to using technology. And that's where I started to give programming, robotics, and all type of technology classes, from blockchain to AI, even before it became something that trendy, where we arrive having events on how to integrate it in our classes. So that's about me. My mission is to make sure everyone has the tools they need to develop their own business or their own personal projects. I'm focusing mostly on children because I think they are the ones who need more help to complete the academical tools they get from schools. And I help educational companies like school trip agencies, centers that offer excursions for schools, outdoor experiences, educational experiences, workshops, and after school programs to develop their offers and develop their businesses. So I focus on the educational industry, making sure that everyone, families, schools, kids, teachers, get the right support to use at the maximum their talents. That's how I would define my life mission. That's why I'm here today, and that's why I'll spend some time sharing with you how I use AI as a study buddy for my students. So I give after school classes. Apart from programming and robotics, I also give student support, especially to high level athletes in English, because my students are from international schools. So the plan for today will be to talk about how I use. So there are many other ways to do it. AI for homeschool homework support, and what type of prompt I use with my students, what type of advice I give them to do and not to do with AI, and also how you can implement it as a parent or as a teacher or even as a student. So that's the plan for this talk. So also I'd like to mention with you when to use a certain LLM for a certain topic. In this case, I'm only talking about LLMs. I'm not going to mention any other AI tools, but I'm going to talk about the different types of LLMs, and also what can happen with all of them, and how you can prevent it, and what can you put in place, what strategies you can use to make sure that your student get the most out of it. So the idea is that by the end of this session, you'll be equipped to guide your students in using AI and to help them in their homework. Okay, how to craft personalized prompts, and how to understand the limitations of different models for different educational tasks. Okay. So let's start with how would you use AI as a homework support? You can do it with the student, or you can train your students to do it without you. In both cases, it's really important to have that critic eye on the result the AI will give you, and also to give the tools to the students to verify and take ownership of the final answer they will from this tool. Also, it's important on effective prompts that will avoid possible errors. This doesn't mean you won't get them. AI is not perfect, and you might get wrong results. I'll tell you about a certain story that can actually scare you in a way. I teach my students how to use AI when I'm with them in class, but I also let them use it when I'm not with them. However, they are teenagers, they are old enough to take some perspective and take some distance with what they get. I wouldn't do that with primary students unless parents are around, because you don't know what they might get as a result. You don't know if they will follow all your advice on the prompting, and it's important to work on prevention and to work on consciousness of what can happen and what you can get out. So also how to use the right AI tool for a certain type. So if it's for research, I would use Perplexity. If it's for code, I would use Claude. If it's for summarizing and getting answers from a document, I would use Gemini. If it is for brainstorming or creativity, I would use Chat GPT. This is now in November 2024. I don't tell you that in a month from now you might find one better than another for a certain use, especially that now ChatGPT came out with a search GPT. I haven't tried it yet, so I don't know. I'm really happy with Perplexity, so for now I'm focusing on using Perplexity and getting better at it. My way of getting better at knowing the limitation of all these tools is that every month I'll take a pro account on a different tool. So that's how I have a trial on each one of them and see which one corresponds better to my needs at that moment. And I'm also using the free version of others at the same time. About the prompting, I'll show you some examples, and we will cover this keys area to give you a comprehensive understanding of AI as a study companion. Okay, without spending too much time on all the advantages of using AI as a study buddy, just some review on it. It really offers you a personalized support because of the prompt you can use. You can really make sure the answer is for your students, for their age, for their needs, and that's something that I value a lot on it. It can be used 24 hours, 7 days a week, and that's something that I cannot provide to my students, and I wouldn't like to, even though I also provide support through WhatsApp. When I'm in class with another student, I can answer mine. When I'm doing training, or I cannot be available as they would need. So I also value this a lot. And the use itself of AI in homework support actually is an excuse, in my case, to work on critical thinking. For the students to, they are learning something new. They are asking the AI as if it was a teacher who knew everything. And then as a teacher with a critical view on the result, I come up with a lot of stop signs when I see the results, because I'm like, are you sure this is right? Double check it. Don't trust everything from the first moment. And then it worries me, because even though I don't know everything they are studying, I have a certain experience and a certain knowledge that helps me see if the answer might be accurate or inaccurate, or if the answer is going really towards a way that doesn't look good at all. The student, they don't have these tools, they don't have this view, they don't have this perspective, they don't have the experience to consider that. So whatever they'll read from the AI is true as much as whatever teacher will tell them is true. How much they trust the system or the person who is giving them that information. And that's the part that I work a lot with my student. Double check, look for the source before using that. Go check online if it's true. Go check on a reliable source to check if that is right. So even though AI is like a great tool and gives you a personalized and always available support, the use is good also to foster this critical thinking skills when you are with them. But it's true that you want your students to keep using this mindset whenever you're not with them, when they use AI on them. Now on prompting, how to be effective on prompting. What I teach my students is to be specific and clear, provide a context, and I encourage them to go one step further every time they write a prompt. So one of my students is really good at it, and she always starts with explain in words that a 14 years old would understand what means she also, the other day, she wanted to prepare for an exam, a math exam, and I'm really glad she did that. So in MYP, we have different criteria, and one is recognizing patterns. And the exams are not simple exams like checking if you have the knowledge. It's more you learn the rule in math, and you have to recognize this rule in a certain mass of data, and you have to define yourself what is the rule that you recognize, and you have to see in what context you can, in what context you cannot. So out of a rule she studied in class and a certain chapter, the exam could have been so many different things. I reviewed what it could be. When I wasn't there, she used Chat GPT and gave the word. I'm going to have an MYP4 B criterion math exam on equations of straight lines. So actually the system gave her possibility of what could be the questions and exercises to train on, and this is what came out in the exam. So I'm really glad she did it. I didn't come up with what she had at the exam, so I'm very happy she got that result from Chat GPT, and that's a very good way to train when the teacher is that much guidance, so on something that students don't really know where to focus on. However, what worries me with that is, on one hand, the silence of the teachers, because students are still preparing, so putting them in that situation where they have no idea what they will be asked on or what to do. That worries me, because I can see the stress and the stress my students is going through with that situation, and I don't really see what she's learning out of. In this case, it worked well, and ChatGPT gave her a right example of what could come up. On the other hand, if it wasn't true, she would have spent quite a lot of time on something she might not get in the exam, and maybe even the system could give her like a wrong question that wouldn't come up at all. But because she is really good with prompting, she actually knows how to ask well the questions. Not at first, huh? Now it has been 1.5 years we're using it together. Not every class, but every one, and then whenever she uses it when I'm not here, we review some of the prompts together, and I give her some advice that she applies the next time. I show her another tool. Not all the time, but like little by little, I give new knowledge and new perspective on how she can use different LLMs. Just to summarize, what's the most important in prompting? The level of the students, so the age of the class level, objective, so the instructions, what do I want from the AI, the context, so if there is any PDF or if there is any PDF or doc or class content that needs to be known to understand the question, and what exactly do you need help for? Is it to review something you've created? Is it to summarize the class content? Is it to correct the text and improve it to have it in a certain style? So what exactly is the objective, or what do you need from the AI? Now, when and why should choosing a certain AI tool? I'll tell you my experience now, November 2024. It's my experience. Don't take it as all time right. I use Chat GPT for everything that has to go with creativity, something new, brainstorming ideas, because it's like having someone with an open mind. ChatGPT is very creative, so that's where I use it now. With that creativity, the limitation I've seen is hallucinations it can have. So whenever now, like everyone, and then the algorithm changed, every new model is different, but at some point I could create quotes from Elon Musk that never existed, like never, ever, ever. So for all the creativity, I love ChatGPT. Whenever I want to think out of the box and think of something new or something I haven't dare to think about, I'll ChatGPT. Now for reviewing long documents, right now Gemini is the one that has a memory and capacity to have a look at long documents, and not skip part of it. So Gemini for review of type, to summarize, mostly that's that I use it. Also at some point to created images, I liked it a lot, but it had been a while. I'm not using it so much anymore. Also because so every one and then when something happens, the system adds sounds, which is right. And I'll share with you a story that happened with a student that was using it, and at some point received an answer that's, when you read it, you're like, what? This might be because the safety bound weren't that strong. I have a friend of mine saying that the system got like tired of it. You can see other interpretation that go in that direction, interpreting an emotional reaction from the AI. I don't think this is what happened, but I do wonder what actually happened. Now the system is completely blocked, so even if you try to get like a reaction like that, you won't get it. And this was with Gemini. One limit that has been shown, talked about on Gemini, is the bias. So it would be presented as Gemini's work, or it can be said as Gemini has a lot of limitation when it comes to certain topics. So there are certain topics that you cannot critique or have an opinion against, and the system will tell you, no, it is like that and not another way. So that was like some of the critiques on Gemini. So it actually, if you want to work on bias of the system, it's interesting to use Gemini for that. Now, Perplexity is my all-time favorites right now. Lately, I've been using Perplexity really a lot. I love it because it gives you the steps it's going to follow, the pro version, the steps it's going to follow before doing it. So it's going to show you your instruction, your prompt into step 1, step 2, step 3. and it's giving you the sources of the information it's giving you. So that's a good part. For me, it's really good for my student also to be able to review the information from the sources. You can also use it to look for information from Reddit or from a certain source. So I like it. Now, when it comes to using it for different tasks, it's really good in English, but it's using most of the sources from North America. So when you want to research on information more connected to France or Spain or Europe in general, it might not always be accurate for that. And Claude, I haven't used it so much because it's the pro version is very demanding. Was at the moment I use it. Now I don't know exactly because it had been at least 2 months I'm not using it anymore. But I've been out of all of them when I've created code for my classes or reviewing code. Claude was the only one that was right and really good. So I hear a lot of good words on Claude, so I advise you to have a try. Try the same prompt on different tools and see the result you get from each one of them. And to do that many times. I've also used Yammer, so it's not you cannot get it like that. I mean, you can go on Hugging Face and have access to certain open source versions. But Yammer was also a really good one when I had to create story for class content. So that was more for me as a teacher. Okay. Let's just finish with AI limitations. So what you can find as limitation is that you might get outdated or incorrect information. So it can be hallucinations, but it can be also information that come from sources that are not accurate. You can have information that comes from a certain area or structure or geographical or time, so it's not accurate anymore. It's not accurate for your market or for your content. The critiques on what it produces, so you won't have the AI telling you I'm wrong basically. So everything they give you certain information, and don't forget that's not the fact, and it's up to you and your student to review that, check it, and make sure that you actually trust the source of that information. And sometimes you'll have the AI not being able to understand the context. This can be because of the prompting, this can be because of the lack of context. And you also need to consider the ethical consideration and data you want to put in and what data you agree to get from. So just be aware of all of that, and integrate in your classroom. Try out the different tasks you want to do with it. See the results. See if it's okay to do that in your class. If it's useful, what objective do you want to have from it? All of that. So now I'll show you how I use it with my students for a typical middle school homework assignment. And now to summarize, AI can be super powerful when used correctly, when it works. Effective prompting is key. Honestly, it's very important to be aware of your prompt and what you need to include in your prompts. Different tools can suit different tasks. Don't limit yourself of the use of one. They are getting better also because there is this competition between them. So it's with the time they also become more specialized for certain tasks. So use that. And always be aware of the limitation, verify the information. In the end, you and your student are the one who will this information, and it's very important as much as anything we get from from internet or from any book, in the end, we are the one trusting the source of the information. Last thing, I invite you a lot to try it, to try practice, because that's only through doing a lot that you'll see how to get better result, what works, what doesn't. Try it yourself. Try it with your student, let your student try it, let them explain to you what they want to try, what they did. Share experience and insight with other educators at your school. Especially I've seen that with teachers coming from different countries. It's very interesting to see, so what are the tools you use in your country? Because, for example, in Germany, they have access to certain tools through a platform provided by the government. So depending on where you are, you might get more information, accurate information, or accurate use or practice in your country from other teachers in your country. You can contact me. You'll find me on LinkedIn, and I'll answer with pleasure to all the questions you have. If I can help you better or improve or have a more use of AI, will be with pleasure. I'm organizing for all the teachers in Europe in April. I'm going to do a week training on AI and tools, self-learning and collaborative learning, and the use of AI in education in general. So contact me if you want to come, if you want more information about the dates. I encourage you to experiment a lot and share your experience. I'll be happy to read your experience and to hear from you. So thanks a lot for your attention. Thanks a lot for staying with me until the end. If you have any question, you can write to me through LinkedIn and let me know how it worked, what you did, what worked well, what didn't. And I'm really happy to read you and to see how you integrate it. Have a very nice weekend.